Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In this video, I'm going to be interviewing our brother Abdullah. He's a project manager. The reason why this is such an important video for our channel especially is because of all of the people that raise concerns around being able to finance their hijrah. A healthy alternative to working on the ground in some of these Muslim countries is to get a remote job. I'm going to sit with the brother and we're going to just talk about the subject of remote work, AI, and how to land a remote job. So when it comes to remote work, you seem to have a lot of experience because that's what you've been doing, right? So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing remote work for, I would say now, on and off about 5 years.
Okay, and what got you started with it?
Initially, when I first started remote work, this was before remote work was a thing. I was in telecom, and we would have times where, I guess you would call it hybrid, where we took our laptops home and we were basically on call. So there were some times where cell towers went down, there were network issues. So I would be in the house and I would flip open my laptop and I would just go ahead and work on troubleshooting the issues at hand. That was my first exposure to working from home. And that was maybe 15, 20 years ago. And now after COVID came, remote work has become more of a thing. So now for the past 3 years, I've been working fully remote.
Would you say the work is a lot easier than being at the office?
There's some pros and cons to remote work, which I'm sure you hear the arguments all the time. One of the arguments for people that call everyone back to the office is oversight, productivity. Are workers actually working from home, right? So that's the argument you hear all the time from people that may want to micromanage what their employees are doing. Maybe they don't have that trust built up and they just feel like the workers are just at home playing the Xbox and watching TV, right, with their feet up. But on the other side of things, people who are pro remote work will tell you that you limit distractions when you're actually in your own home office, because how many times does your coworker walk up to your desk and they want to just talk to you about absolutely nothing? How's the weather? How are the kids? How did you see that Eagles game yesterday? What's your basketball team? Did you watch this? Did you watch that? And you'll sit for maybe 30 minutes. I guess they call it that water cooler talk, where you meet at the water cooler and you're just talking for 30 minutes about something totally non-work related. So you can be distracted whether you're at home or at the office. So I don't think that the argument is there for people having to return to the office. And also companies are saving money.
Right.
You go to a lot of these downtown office buildings and you'll see that the traffic isn't the way it used to be, right? And it's just not as congested because a lot of the office workforce is able to work either hybrid or work fully remote from home. So you look at that work-life balance, and once you shut that laptop screen, you're immediately able to spend time with your kids, with your family, with your significant others. And you don't have that commute, that hour commute, 45-minute commute. When you times it by 2, you're looking at maybe 2 hours commuting where you're not working and you're not spending time in your personal life.
Right.
So you take that off the board, and that's the reason why I think that remote work is great. It's priceless.
Do you think like working as a remote worker is just as stable as a job where you're in the office? Can you depend on it in the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, nowadays, like I said, post-COVID, many companies realize that there's no reason to have people come to the office.
Right.
The companies are saving money, the employees are saving money, and the work's still getting done. That's the most amazing thing is people thought that, everyone's working from home, and now the productivity is going to go down, work's not going to get done. And people are seeing the opposite. Companies are seeing like, man, people are working so they can stay home. They want to show their employer, hey, look at how productive I am now that you're letting me stay in the house. I think a lot of companies have found that it's more cost effective and they're not losing anything by letting their employees stay home. And employees have been quitting as well when the companies are saying you have to return to the office. Employees are saying, well, right now, I don't live where the office is anymore. I live in Colorado or I live in Florida. The company is in Texas. I'm not coming back to Texas. I already bought a home, or maybe they bought a home in the suburbs or in a rural area because they always wanted to own a farm. And now the company is saying you got to come back, and they're like, you know what? I'll go work for XYZ Corporation because I don't have to work for you. I can work for them. They're offering remote work. So, you want to change things up, I can change things up as well.
Okay, I know in the freelancing world, you're kind of competing with the whole world, and it's about who's the best and who can get this thing done. But when you got a job, do you feel that it's easier for companies to just outsource the jobs to places like the Philippines and cheaper economies where they won't necessarily need American employees? So how do you work around that? Because you got English speakers all over the world that will take much less. Is there a reason, or what's the incentive for American companies to hire American workers?
I would say that the reason for American companies hiring American workers is the same reason that a Egyptian company is going to hire Egyptian workers, right? So every country, which you could also say is a company, right, has a sense of nationalism, right? You want your country to do well. You want your citizens to be able to put food on the table.
Right.
So it really doesn't benefit a company if you're taking all of the jobs and outsourcing them overseas, and now you have a struggling job market where your company is based. This is going to cause a lot of blowback politically, economically, right, morally, because you're going to have the people that you live around angry with you, right? People are going to say, "Oh, I'm not buying from Amazon anymore because Amazon is outsourcing all of their work." Right? So the people you live with, your neighbors, are going to stop supporting you if they're not seeing the benefit, right? So these companies, a lot of these companies, these US-based companies, are going to continue hiring inside the US. The tax implications are more difficult if they want to hire employees that are outside the company, outside the country, right? And then a lot of these companies, they call you to the office every now and then for team building, departmental meetings, right? Those meetings like that. And if someone is outside the country, I keep using it interchangeably because, it's almost like the same, right? We know that we live in a organization, right? It's a big company. That's it. So people that are living outside the country, they might not have a visa, or they might not be able to get a visa to come to the States. If, you might have to go visit a client, or you might have to have an internal meeting face to face. So there's a lot of factors on why a lot of these remote jobs are going to stay U.S. based, and the same reason that a job in Japan that's remote is going to stay Japanese based.
This actually leads me to my next question, and that's because people are worried about AI, like outsourcing to AI, but I don't think AI is at a place where it can replace people. But I just thought companies, US-based companies who have to pay the higher salaries, would like to outsource to foreign countries and everything. But now with AI, and I heard that a lot of companies are cutting their workforce and everything with AI. So I'm sure they've done the same with workers before then, when they were hiring people in like the Philippines and those places. How strong is like job security with, you got foreign workers and you got AI, and you have rising like cost of living and everything? Like, how do they handle that type of thing?
I mean, technology has been progressing way before anyone has talked about ChatGPT or generative AI or LLMs. I mean, think about it. We went from everyone riding on horses to people riding in cars, right? So technology has already saved time. We went from people, if you wanted to go to another country, you had to get on a ship. Right. Yeah. And it would be months before you got there. Now people get on a plane in 5 hours, 6 hours, you're in the next country. Right. And so it was the same concerns. What's going to happen with all these people that were, that maybe worked on the ship or something? On the ship, or maybe in the railroad industry, because now people are driving, right? Or maybe, people that were working in the horse stables, the tellers, the people that made the shoes for the horses, right? As technology progresses, humans have to adapt and progress as well. Okay. AI is just another tool. It's just another opportunity. It's just another opportunity for us to grow and develop our skills and level up, right? If you don't know how to leverage AI, if you don't know how to use the tool, it's time for you to learn how to use the tool, because you see that that's the direction that society is going. So you see companies, they're not getting rid of workforces for AI. for one, no one wants to talk to a robot, right? You might joke around and talk to ChatGPT or whatever, but you're not talking to a real person. You're not really going to be able to express yourself, your frustrations, your maybe your pain points, maybe something that you're really happy about. You don't want to talk about that stuff with a fake person. You know what I mean? You can't ask a robot, how was your day? You will, but how's the weather over in where are you? Right?
Like on the web.
Yeah. How's the weather on? So you need that person to person interaction just for your own sanity. So we're not going to get rid of a project manager and replace a project manager with AI. We're still going to have. We're not at that point yet. We're
That's
going
like dystopian.
Yeah, we're not at that point yet, and honestly, society wouldn't really be able to function from what I see in the near future with everyone just not working and AI is running the show. I don't think anyone would trust that. I think that's everyone's worst nightmare, honestly. That's like some Terminator type.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say now you're interested, like you see the market, you see where everything is going, and you want to get into remote work. Do you have to start at a technical position, or do you start with something easier to understand, maybe customer support or something super easy?
Yeah, I think you can take a non-technical path or you can take a technical path. You don't have to take a technical position to work remote. You'll find a lot of remote jobs are, like you said, customer support. Maybe they're HR, marketing, right? So data analysts, you have all these different positions that may not be heavy on the technical side, but they're still remote. You don't need, HR to come in to the physical office every day. All these interviews are remote right now, right? All these meetings that we're having are remote. So what's the point of having HR physically at the office location? It's just no use case, no business case for it. So a lot of these non-technical jobs that are white collar, there's really no reason to have someone in the office. Financial aid for a university, the students can jump on a Zoom meeting and discuss financial aid with their financial aid counselor, right? So why does she or he have to be in the office? There's no need.
So do you think the world is heading, like we're gonna have more remote work in the future? I
think it's a balance, because at the end of the day, you have real estate investors that have these giant office buildings downtown, these skyscrapers, and they need to get leased, and they still need to make money off of these buildings, right? So if companies stop leasing the space, this is also going to hurt the economy. So I think you're going to see a balance. You'll see hybrid positions where they're trying to keep everyone happy, right? You can stay home 3 days out the week, come in 2 days, right? And then you might have different positions inside the same company. You might have a company where you have your city-based employees where they're hybrid. Then you might have remote talent that are fully remote that might be in other cities, right? So I think you'll see a blend of different setups depending on the company and the employees.
If you would like to support our productions and share in the reward, inshallah, go to fund.makehijra.com.
What about applying for these roles? Do people just apply just like how they apply for any other job? They go to LinkedIn or Indeed?
Absolutely. And even though if it's a non-technical role, still leverage your technical aptitude for even the most basic applications, right? Because since you're working from home, you don't have anyone standing over your shoulder saying, oh, okay, this is how you use Outlook, or this is how you use Teams, or this is how you're going to use Slack. Right. So if you can already showcase, hey, I know how to use Slack, I know how to use Teams, I know how to use, Microsoft Office 365, I can use Outlook, I can set my Outlook up. These are the things that employers are looking for. Like, hey, this person can hit the ground pretty much running with the basic applications. They know how to go through and use different forms, use different tools, and they can get stuff done. They don't need someone over their shoulder walking them through how to do the basics inside the applications.
What are some tips that you'd recommend? Like, it doesn't have to be like a lot of different things, but just generally, like you have an interview, you're about to sit with somebody. How do you go about that?
For sure. The interview shouldn't be your first time interviewing, is what I like to tell people. Practice makes perfect. If you're not practicing with your family or your friends, and then you get the interview, you're gonna be more nervous, right? And it's gonna come off to the employer. Maybe they're gonna feel like this person's desperate. Maybe this person is, just not comfortable. Something's off with this person. But if you're sitting down and I might come to you and say, Abdullah, I got these questions. Can you just ask me the questions and let me practice answering them? So now, when that employer says, what are 3 things that you're proud of, right? These are behavioral questions that always come in, 3 things you regret. Tell me about yourself, right? Do you have any questions for us? Those questions are always coming up in interviews. So you can practice those type of answers to those questions. So that way, when you show up to that interview, you have a confident aura about you. And so I always say practice for the interview, practice your about me, practice your 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses, practice, what questions you're going to ask at the end to make yourself stand out, right? And research the company, research the company. So that way, when it's time for the interview, maybe you know something about that HR manager or something about that department or something about some news. Every company has a news page, so you can see what news was just released. So you can tell them, hey, I went on your website and I saw that y'all were just at XYZ convention, back in May. And they'll be like, oh, wow. And then lead that into a question, That's a way to stand out and show them that you're serious.
And then what's the average time it takes, like after you apply and then you get your first interview and then get in the job? Let's say everything went well. Like, what's the time you should expect?
It really depends. It's a lot of different factors. It depends on the industry. It depends on your qualifications, your skills. It depends on the time of the year. Are you applying like over Thanksgiving and Christmas? You might not get a call back for 2 months and they say, hey, we liked your interview from October and it's January now, right? So you're like, October, who are you, right? So it's a lot of factors that come into play. So the main thing is being consistent, right? I always tell people, if you're applying to 1 job a day or, 5 jobs a week, you're not even looking for a job. You're not even looking for a job. You have to be consistent and set a goal. I'm going to apply to 10 jobs a day. And that's not easy because you need to go back and tailor your resume. Don't just have 1 resume you're shooting out, quick applying. You need to tailor that resume for every job you're applying to. And this is when you go back to leveraging AI, tools like ChatGPT, to where you can put in prompts to tailor your resume to a particular job description, paste that job description in, and help with generating those custom tailored resumes that you can go ahead, convert to PDFs, and send to each employer, right? So, you got to learn how to leverage the AI that we were just discussing about as a tool to help you in this job market nowadays, because the competition is doing it.
And what about like cover letters and stuff? Do you suggest writing a cover letter for every job?
It depends. I know you're going to get tired of me saying it depends, but it does. It depends. Some jobs, they don't really care about a cover letter. Cover letters, you can keep them generic, so you can use the same one, all the time and just tailor your resume. So that makes it easy.
So it's the resume that they care about.
The resume is what needs to be tailored. The CV is just general about you. This is my name. I have over X amount of years of experience. I have a degree in this, that, and the third, and I'm certified in this, that, and the third. Here are some of my soft skills, right? Communication, woo. And I look forward to hearing from you. Please review my resume. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Right? And you can keep that pretty much the same. What you're going to want to tell her is that resume.
And then that goes through the ATS.
People do cheats with the ATS. They try to work around it. Oh, I'm going to put all this stuff in, white font. You know what I mean? They're going to put everything in white font. And that way the ATS picks up all this white font and then, they get put in. But that doesn't matter if the resume is not tailored. Because when that person looks at that resume and it's like, I don't know why the ATS gave me this. It doesn't even match the job description. They're going to throw it away. Right. So focus more on those human eyes that are going to see it and not cheating the code on the ATS.
And what about like competition? Do you think, because I know when you have a regular job, you have people in that area applying for that job, or people willing to relocate, applying for the job. But when you have a job that's remote, now it just opens it up to the nation. Like it's just everybody can apply to it. So would you say the competition is a lot crazier on the?
That's why applying to one job a day is not looking for a job when you're looking for remote work. You know, you should have a goal every day before you go into bed. Before going to bed, bare minimum, applying to 10 jobs that day.
Cool.
Looking for a job is a job. And that's what people don't understand. You have to work 4 hours a day when you're looking for a job. If you want to, you know, land the job in a timely fashion, you have to take it seriously like you're already working because it's a job. You got to sit down. You got to research companies. You got to look for positions that match your skills. You got to tailor your resume, right? You might want to, you know, send a message to the recruiter on LinkedIn, say, hey, I just sent my resume in. This is why I'm the perfect fit for the job. And so once you start getting these interviews, and you know you're practicing for these interviews and you're nailing these interviews and you're standing out from the competition, this is what's going to set you apart. Sending that follow-up email after the interview, thanking them for their time, right? To remind them why you're the perfect fit. That's what's going to make you stand out, getting back to those basics and those fundamentals of the job hunt.
Because I know people who can apply for work and it only takes them about 2 weeks and they got a job. You think does it work the same way with remote work, or you just gotta work maybe 2 or 3 times harder to get a remote job?
I believe you have to work harder to get a remote job because there are more people applying to the job, right? If you're applying for an in-person job in Detroit, your competition is Detroit and the surrounding area, and a few people who are crazy enough to say, I want to relocate to Detroit, right? No offense, Detroit, but you know, that's your competition.
Right.
But when you open that gate up wider and say, you know, not just Detroit, but the whole continental United States and Hawaii and Alaska can apply to this job, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to go ahead and take that, maybe it was 500 applicants, maybe times that by 1,000, right? So now you have thousands of people applying to this job because now it doesn't matter where you are. So the competition is going to really change when you're looking at a remote job compared to an in-person job, depending on the in-person job, of course. We're talking about entry level and things.
Now, what if you apply for like a hybrid job, but then you eventually transition into a remote role? You think that's the better way to get, like you apply for the job locally, and then after that you get the job, you work the job, but there's an option to go remote, and then you go remote that way. Is that better? Because we're talking about people who are going to make Hijrah, and most people are probably not going to put in that type of effort to get a job in the first place, especially if they don't believe in it, or if that's their first remote job, they don't really know what that life really is. And they might feel that their resumes or all of their applications are just going into a black hole with no responses, no nothing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You said, you know, it's about how much you want it. You know, you alluded to that. How bad do you want to make Hijrah? How bad do you really want to get out of there, right? Am I asking you too much to apply 10 times a day and tailor your resume? You know, is it really a big ask? You know, for you to buckle down and do this seriously for 6 months and, you know, maybe take a couple trainings to learn a couple different applications, right? Because, you know, you're talking about people who are truck drivers. They went through trucking school. They're staying up, you know, driving 18 hours a day, driving hundreds of miles. That's difficult. If you can do that, then why can't you apply to 10 resumes laying down in your bed, right? You can lay in your bed and apply to 10 resumes. You know, so some.
I don't think it's fair necessarily, because like you're unemployed if you're applying for the jobs. Or
Maybe.
So you don't have no income.
Or you might not be unemployed. Who says you're unemployed? Who says you're unemployed? You might not be unemployed. You might just, you know, get home from work, spend some time with your family, and when you have some alone time, you know, communicate with your family. Hey, you know, I'm going to take an hour to apply for jobs. You know what I mean? So put the kids to bed at 8 o'clock, whatever time their bedtime is, from 8 to 9, you apply to jobs instead of Netflixing, instead of, you know, watching Amazon Prime. Let's be real. You know, people are watching entire seasons of Basketball Wives and Power and all these different episodes. If you took all that time out and put that same effort into, you know, applying to jobs, you have a lot of free time where you can apply to work and still be working at your physical job at the same time, you know? So, I mean, asking 3 to 6 months to buckle down and take it seriously, you're not losing nothing. You're not losing anything.
So you're saying this remote job is like, once you get it, you're basically set to move abroad?
I mean, it depends on the company, right? It depends on the company. So, you know, I feel like it's a need to know basis, honestly. Yeah, I'm here and then I'm there, right? As long as I'm still doing my job and I'm still being productive, you know, and there are no complaints on my work, right? My deliverables, right? I'm showing up to all my meetings. Nobody really cares, right? As long as you're not a risk for them, you know, and you're taking care of business and you're being professional. That's it. If the call is at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I don't want to hear nothing about I'm tired or, you know, is this time over? No, I didn't ask that. You know what I mean? That's
the job.
The call is East Coast, you know, so you got to just be, you know, take it seriously. You know, we don't care what time it is wherever you are right now. We want you to do your job. That's what we hired you for. So, you know, that's what it comes down to. And, you know, as far as your question about starting off hybrid and going remote, I mean, you know, I don't know how can you be sure that that's what they're going to do. But I would say that if you know, I'm not going to tell anybody not to take a job, right? If you don't have nothing and you're going hybrid, go hybrid. You know, even if you're working, you know, in a physical setting and you have a chance to go hybrid, I would say go hybrid because you're going to spend more time with your family. You're going to have a better lifestyle personally, like your personal lifestyle is going to improve. And you also get to practice working from home, right? So now you can practice, you know, you can build that home office. You can get the feel for working remote. You know, even though you're not fully remote, you still work remote maybe 2-3 times out the week. So you're ready for when it's time to go fully remote. Right. You know your internet capabilities and you know how your family's going to react to you being in the house working. Are they going to respect your, you know, your work hours and things like that? You can lay down that foundation.
So there are a couple of things to keep track of. So you have time zones, and then what else? Like the only thing I can think of is really just a time zone thing, because your job might be based in America, but you might be in a country like Morocco or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing if your job's based in Los Angeles and you're in New York. You start to get it comfortable with that 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour time difference, and you know that's how you live your life. You know, I start work at 4 p.m. and I end work at midnight. I start work at 2 p.m. and I end work at 10 p.m. Right? So once you get into the routine, you know, and even just living in a different time zone as your family as well, you start knowing, like, you know, it's too late to call mom. It's too late for mom to call me. No offense, you know, but I know it's not an emergency 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? And I'll tell her when I wake up that, hey, you know, just add X amount before you call me. I love you, but, you know, I need my sleep too, mom, you know, unless it's an emergency. Right. So, you know, it's the same as your personal life. You just get in the habit of always converting that time in your head. And it's the same thing for work, you know.
You put together like a program for this where it's like super beginner friendly, just kind of giving people like an overview how to find yourself a remote job and how to actually make sure you get a remote job, right?
Yes, yeah. So it's not too technical. I'm not trying to talk over anyone's head. I'm trying to talk to people like on a basic, you know, intro level of, do I even want to work remote? You know, you can aim higher and you can spend time with your family. You can get that work-life balance, and you can make enough money to where you can invest in your children's future. You know, put money up for yourself for when you want to retire. You know, because if you're just making $36,000 a month, what are you going to do when you can't drive trucks no more? When you can't go back and work on the port no more, or, you know, do this blue collar work, or, you know, whatever it is you're running back and doing? What are you going to do when you're 55, 60 years old and your body is tired? You know, have you put up money? Did you have money to put up for retirement, or are you just, you know, going to have to go back to the States, or, you know, be a burden on someone? You know, and that's what we don't want to do. You know, so
remote work is like the solution to this.
I think remote work, other than, you know, going in the office, or, you know, I mean, you gotta cover all your bases And I think remote work will allow you to help yourself, your family, and other Muslims that may not be able to be blessed with that opportunity as well. Or maybe even up and coming youth that don't know what they're going to do. You have kids that grow up and they're like, man, I have to go back here or I have to go back there because there's no opportunities for me here. Right. Whereas though here might be a safer environment, it might be a healthier environment, but now they run away from it to, a place that may not be as good so that they can put some food on the table. So when you give them another option to say, hey, you don't have to go back there. You can make the same money here. You just got to, think different, right? You got to learn a couple tools and go step by step. That's what this course is for. Just, for people like that, and it covers anybody from a high school graduate to a single parent, anybody that's looking to pivot out of another career and they want to try to figure out how to get their foot in the door. And like I said, it's technical, non-technical. You don't have to be tech savvy. All you got to do, if you have a smartphone, you qualify. Right. You have enough tech savviness for a remote job. You know how to use an Android.
So if you want to know more about the brother and you want to watch the course that we put together about remote work, the link is down in the description, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Get your copy of the Hijrah Handbook at book.makehijra.com.